This is Robert Clotworthy, the narrator of The Curse of Oak Island, and I have a question for you. Could it be that you are listening to The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream?
This is a top pocket find, mate, for sure.
All right, how you doing? A top pocket find for sure. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream. I'm your host, Jeff Freeman, and right over there is Jack Campbell, my co-host. How you doing, Jack?
Fine, Jeff. How are you doing today? It's kind of warm here today.
Yeah, it is. We had a really warm day today. The sun is still, because of the time change, the sun is just now going down, which, I gotta say, I really like, because it means springtime is coming. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So no more snow. Let's not get that late. Sometimes we get that.
You said the wrong word, Jeff. You said the wrong word.
Yeah, I probably just jinxed us, didn't I? Oh my goodness, I hope not. Hey,
Next weekend we watch.
Yeah, we got Linda Simpson out there working hard in the chat and doing her thing out there. Thank you, Linda, very much. Welcome tonight. Deidre, hi Deidre, how you doing? Janet, Shannon, Darlene, Don Brents, Wanda, Pam, Vicky, Tom Burns. Man, everybody's here tonight. All right. Oh man. So yeah, it's really getting to be nice out. And I got to tell you,
Jan just said you were a jinx.
I see. And all right. I'm not going to say it anymore about that. I'm not going to bring it up. Yeah. Jan jinx. Yeah. All right. Boy, I'm sure glad you guys are here tonight. Thanks for coming. Storming like crazy here. Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
She's down south, isn't she?
No, I think Wanda is. Oh shoot, I I don't remember Wanda. I'm so sorry. I don't remember. I know that I thought you were up in Canada somewhere. No. Wanda's not. I forget where Wanda's at. Hi from the UK, Christopher. Hi, Christopher. Wow. How you doing?
He's up late tonight.
Yeah, Karen. Yeah, you're up late. Mississippi. You're right. She was down south. You're absolutely right. Yep. You are a jinx. Oh, you guys are in for a storm in Halifax. Okay. Uh-oh. Yep. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So we don't want that. I don't like those. Just when you start to think that everything's fine and the grass is turning, the grass isn't going green yet or nothing like that, but it's nice out and you want to get outside and start doing things, and then you get that wake up call. But we won't say anything more about that tonight. I did want to say, hey folks, if you're watching out there on the YouTube side, or anybody from our group that goes out and happens to be checking anything out or showing people on the YouTube side, we really appreciate it if you would give us a look down there. You'll see that subscribe button down there. If you would click subscribe. Like I said, it's kind of like, I wish that YouTube would call it something else instead of calling it subscribe, which tends to make people think that it costs money. They should call it follow instead. But whatever, they call it subscribe. But it's basically just following, and it doesn't cost anything or whatever. And if you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up so you can kind of let us know how we're doing. We like that, and that kind of gives us an idea so we can try to make things a little bit better as we go along. So anyway, but thank you so much for those of you who have subscribed. We do appreciate it very, very much. I just want to let you know that. Tonight, I wanted to do something a little bit different too. We have, I was going to say, tonight's show is sponsored by Laughs Out Loud Paintings. Linda, that I work with, she makes these, she does these paintings and things. And she has a lot of Santa Clauses and Christmas different things. And she made this little sign for me. Now, this is kind of a Pittsburgh, if you can understand this, home sweet home Annette. Now, Annette is kind of a Pittsburgh thing. So everybody around here says, hey, going down Giant Eagle and that? Yeah. So, and I'm not originally from here. So she made this little sign for me when I bought this house, and home sweet home Annette. So, and I said, you know what? I'm going to say that the show is, but even though she's not really sponsoring the show, I said, I'm going to say that, she's sponsoring tonight's show because she gave that to me. And she also does these Christmas trees and stuff like that. She really makes some nice stuff, and she does some really good paintings. So check out her site at Laughs Out. It's lolpaintings.com, laughsoutloudpaintings.com, just lolpaintings.com. And I'll pop that up there just for a second. You can see that. Anyway, but she's really a great, and because of her last name, she's, she's in the Irish family. So today's her big day. So that's why I really wanted to do that for her today. So check out Laughs Out Loud or lolpaintings.com anyway for Linda. And if you see something on there you like, she can make something for you, or you can buy or whatever. But anyway, she's a good friend. So thank you very much for that. Hey folks, so the show last night, I thought it was pretty good. What'd you think, Jack?
I did. They were really digging around in that swamp last night, really heavy.
I know. And and the road, it's been what? How many shows now have we been dealing with the road? Almost all season.
Almost all season. It seems to be going in 3 different directions at one time, it seems like right now.
Yeah.
They're not even sure.
They're exactly. Well, I know. And that's the thing, is that, as they're working on this thing and they're getting closer and closer to like heading up toward, they're on the other side of Nolan's Peninsula now, and now they're up almost to the eye of the swamp, or almost into Nolan's backyard where they actually mow their lawn. It's really getting up close up there in that area. But the interesting thing about it, and they have to follow this. I mean, this is something that they can't let it go. They got to keep following the stone road, because they have to find out where. I would, even though it's so much money and expense and labor to uncover this thing, they pretty much have to continue doing it, because you got to get to the end of it and find out where it leads. I was
at
talking
least the swamp part. They could do the upland part next summer if they want to, but at least they've got to figure out where they go upland that.
Right. And you're making a good point. The fact that somebody just, I saw a thing go by. Oh, Jason Adams said, I used to live about 45 minutes outside of Pittsburgh. Yep. Cool. So yeah, the swamp's going to get filled back in over the winter months. And right now, I mean, just this winter that we just went through, I'm sure it got filled back in. So when that happens, are they going to drain it again? So they really have to do this last season. They had to go as far as they possibly could before the end of the season, because again, muck is going to be all moved back in there over the storms and everything else. Would you want to start all over? I wouldn't. Or, you'd have to start over at the beginning or at the end where they were at. I don't know, but I
think they've got to get you at least to the edge, where they find a road that starts to the upland, and they know where to start next spring if they want to, if they want to go.
Yeah.
Because I think this road's like a spider web right now, Jeff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really
kind of goes all over.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it does. Yeah, I was just reading some of the chat here going by. The road that probably will tell more than the drilling. It could, Pam. You're right on that. Where did all the wildlife from the swamp go? I don't know. I don't know if there's any fish there or not. I don't know, or any kind of creatures are living in there or not. But yeah, it was a great show last night. That's what Deidre said. It was. I thought it was really good. Yes. So I got a couple pictures, as I always do. Right. I'm always throwing all these pictures up here and probably boring you guys to death with these things. But I did want to show a couple of them, and I'll go ahead and get that set up here. And it's kind of interesting, the some of the ones that I picked here. I thought, here's the first one, and this is again going to the swamp there. And as I've been showing these pictures as we go along, they're getting closer and closer and closer to the eye, and I don't know if you can see my mouse very well. It depends on what you're watching this on, I suppose. Bring the visuals. All right. Yeah, frogs in the swamp. There probably would have been frogs in there. But right up here, this is where at the beginning of the show, they were showing them right here. And there's Nolan's property right there. There's Nolan's house, or where the house is over here I just said in that, didn't I? It's wearing on me. There's her house in that. But anyway, they're working their way up, and you're getting really close to the eye. And that was where they were saying that it might actually split off. And one head toward the lot 15 in the money pit. Yeah. And maybe the other part going, and again, they didn't get it. We didn't get definitive with that. I didn't get anything definitive. Oh, I was just going to say, Jenny's watching over on the YouTube side, and Linda. Hi, Linda. How you guys doing over there? Be careful saying anything is sponsored. You might get considered an influencer and they're specific. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, she's just a friend, and I was showing some of her work and showing that. So anyway, so here we are with that, with the the picture of where they're working at over there in the swamp area. And then, of course, hey, we got Marty back in the excavator, and that's always nice to see him get in there and doing some digging and working in the excavator.
I have a question about Marty. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if we see Marty a lot on the screens when they're in the war room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, does he go back to Michigan and then come back and have to quarantine, or they just can't have enough people in the room?
I know.
They never said.
Oh, you're right. You're right. They do have, and I don't know this for a fact, but we've seen them at a residence. And even when they got on the island to begin with, they had, and somebody may have some more information. Linda may have some information on this, but we know that they do have some residences, because when they came to this year, when they got to Nova Scotia this year, they were staying in some houses. Now they could have been rented or whatever. We don't know. And we know that we've seen Rick at a house on the mainland. So I was assuming, and I don't know this for a fact, I was assuming that they own some property on the mainland as well with regular residents. I don't know that. Nobody's ever told me that. It's just
he's got the winery and everything. It was just something that crossed my mind. I thought, boy, that's a lot of travel back and forth with quarantining and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tom says they're trying to keep the war room numbers down so they can use video more. So they have to use the video more. That very well could be true. Linda said they lease those homes, so they could lease these houses that are over on the mainland.
Just something I thought of, but I thought, boy, they put a lot of people on that screen. It seems like.
Yep. Yeah, they. Susan said they rent year round. Thank you, Susan. I think he quarantined again because he went back to Michigan. Yeah, if he does, if he comes back into Canada, once he comes back into Canada, he probably has to quarantine again. So, I don't know if they've had their shot, of how that affects this year. If they've gotten the COVID shot or not. But anyway, we'll find that out. As Rick has used that same house for a few years, Janet says. So there you go. Darlene says, I believe it has to do with the amount of people gathered in the war room, COVID restrictions. Yep.
Right.
Yep. If you leave Tom said, if you leave the Providence and come back, you have to quarantine. There you go. There's your answer. And Tom should know. So, yeah. So, the pictures of him with the white bookcases is Michigan, Linda says. Okay. He was back in Michigan at least once and undoubtedly had to quarantine again. Yep. And that would be such a bummer, wouldn't it? I mean, here you got to go home, because he's got businesses that he's trying to run, so he's got to fly back to Michigan and take care of stuff. And then, okay, what do you stay for a couple of weeks? Man, if I go back to Oak Island now, I've got to quarantine again. That's just going to be rough. Very, very rough.
I don't know why. I mean, it's not really about the show, but I was just thinking, that would be rough.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Linda says, Linda over on the YouTube side, Linda Simmons says, even if they own houses in Nova Scotia, if they come from outside, they would have to isolate for 14 days. So if they go to the province, outside the province, they would have to isolate each time. Yeah, that's
okay.
Man, that's got to be rough. Exactly. So anyway, there's Marty back, and yeah, we did see him later on. We've seen him, and he could be over at the house. He could have gone over to the house that's on the mainland and not flown back. But like Linda said about the bookcases, if it's the white bookcase, then he's in Michigan. Pictures of him with the white bookcase is Michigan. Okay. So we know that. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Linda was saying something about having his own jet. So it makes it easier. Yeah. It probably does make it easier, you would think, anyway. But anyway, there's Marty and the excavators. I wanted to show that. And then, of course, this wasn't them holding it or whatever, but they were finding him and Aaron Taylor. Dr. Taylor found these stakes in the swamp there. They found a couple of them. And they were keeping a tally about how many they obviously had found several over the course of all this looking. And they got a couple of them dated that we'll get to here in a little bit. They got a couple of them dated, which was kind of cool. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So that was that one, and then there's the other one, and this is the picture of it sitting on the table in the war room. But I thought this was kind of neat that the date right here. This was when it was found, the 24th of September 2020. So wood survey spike. So that's kind of cool. That we kind of actually see a date on it. That's why I grabbed this picture, because I saw the date right there, and it kind of helps you to get an idea of just where, because they jump around so much during the show. They jump around with the season. So, sometimes the trees are, turning yellow, and sometimes there's hardly any leaves on the trees, and other times it's full summer and everybody's sweating.
Sometimes they're in shirt sleeves, and then they're bundled up like Eskimos.
Yeah. And then the next scene, they're all wearing jackets and stuff, or light jackets and whatnot. So it's kind of funny, but so we know they jump around a bit. So you don't really know for sure, where you're at in the season when they're showing something, any of these pictures. Except for maybe the very beginning when they'll say, okay, they're finally on the island or whatever. But other than that, you just don't, you don't get a good idea. Who said that? I was just like, oh, Sharon, Irving Thompson said, why are those stakes so short? I don't know. Are they broken off? Why are they so short? They have to be broken off. But you would think, because of the swamp preserving things so well, where's the rest of it?
The first one was a lot bigger than that one that they found.
Yeah. But I mean, all of them they found were only, I don't think there was any of them over a foot long. And if they, what here, yes. And this is a good point. Tom Burns said that broken or rotted off is my guess. It looks like they were sheared off. Susan said, Darlene said, I think that these might be shims used to keep something like barrels from rolling off carts while traveling the stone road, and not stakes at all. That's a point. The stakes are like we'd put string on to keep a line, according to my brother, who knows. Yep. And you're right. You would string a line along the stakes, right? So then you follow
so
that.
You know where you're going.
I do that all the time when I'm out working out in the yard, and I was doing putting in stairs out there with block. I had it all lined with my stakes and strings to follow that line to keep it all in line. So that's a good point. Maybe broken by the excavator, could be. My thinking on that was this: we know that the swamp preserves. And if it's part of it here, this is the point. This is the part of it that would be driven into the ground. The rest of it would be above ground. And the rest of it would be, to the wind and the storms and the conditions, and would
Water,
get weathered. And the part of it that's in the dirt would be preserved, because we know that the swamp preserves things. I don't know. What do you think of that idea? We need to ask, Dr. Taylor, or Laird. Yes, thank you.
I wonder if they could find out the age on that by doing that water test that they did up at the money pit.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? Where they put it in the water, it was sunk, it was...
Yeah, very true. If it sunk, it was one thing, and
very old.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Jenny on the YouTube side said, I think they were just markers to outline the edges so that they wouldn't need to be that long, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. We need to. And then Linda said, I'm thinking the archaeologists would know wood spikes, would survey spikes, etc. Aaron Taylor and Laird. I got anything to say? She linked them so they'll see these messages. Kind of like a garden edging, isn't that right? Yeah.
Well,
yeah. When you put the stakes in for the edge of a garden or something, you don't drive them in that deep. DXT on the YouTube side said the stakes drive into the mud to drive the frozen. Wait a minute. The stakes drive into the mud to drive the frost into the mud to make the mud freeze so they can work on it. That's an interesting thought. Whoops. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll get more definitive answer on just what those things are all about. But they did, they made a big deal about, oh, look, we found all these, wooden stakes. My only thing that I liked about the fact of the stakes was the fact that you could date them. That was my, to me, the stakes, along the edge of the path, you're thinking, okay, they were marking out the path and trying to keep it, 10 feet wide. And that's something Dr. Spooner said. He was talking about the fact that it's consistently the same width, which is not natural. And it was consistently the same size of rocks and stuff. That's not natural. I mean, so that all leads right there to the fact that, um, obviously that they would be using stakes to mark it out to keep the same width and follow this path that they're trying to do. Oh, Laird responded. I didn't see that. Let me see what he said here. Or Laird Niven. There are lots of those in the swamp for sure. Fencing or surveying? Question mark. I don't know. I guess they could be fencing.
Yeah.
That's true. They could be fencing. They are big enough to where they could be used for a light fence. It wouldn't be a real strong fence, and it would depend upon how deep they drove them into the ground and just put wire to keep the oxen from going into the swamp. Maybe there's a thought for you. I don't know. Because the oxen may wander over there, and you don't want them getting in the swamp because they would get stuck in there, and you'd have a heck of a time getting an ox out of a swamp. How would you pull them out of there? Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Well, thank you for responding there, Laird. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Let's see. Don, what did Don say here? Let's see. I still say shims. Yeah, Darlene's talking shims. They did find pieces of the barrel that fell off. Yeah, that's true. It could be. Let's see. They did. Janet says they did talk about that with the big stakes. Bottom is in the mud, and the top part would be exposed and rot away. That's kind of what I was thinking. That was my thinking about this. But again, I'm not, like I said, we know that the swamp preserves. So if that bottom piece, and that's the pointy part, that'd be in the mud, and the rest of it would be exposed, and it would very likely rot away. Anyway, but the nice thing about them that I liked again was the fact that you can actually date them and get some kind of an idea of when they were used, which is a good thing. Here's another picture showing, this is just a little one showing, kind of the direction that they're heading. And I believe that if you go in over that mound right over in the middle of the picture here, that'd be Tom Nolan's property, Fred and Tom Nolan's property right over here, just over this mound. So that's the way it's heading as far as I can tell from this picture, because over here to the left of the picture would be where the swamp proper is over here on this side. So that has to be heading to the northwest and heading towards Nolan's property, the actual, around the house area property. And that's why and you can still see that they are definitely following these stones here of the pathway. This is one I grabbed off the show just simply because, they're showing there roughly where they were at the time that the picture or the show was on, where they were, with the starting point. And then of course here, which is what I call Nolan's Peninsula. And then they show the road could possibly be turning and heading towards across lot 15 where the pine tar kiln was or is. And then also over toward the money pit. Now, do they know it goes that far? Don't know for sure. But if you think about this, they didn't remember when in lot 15, when Jack Begley and Gary were over there. This was early in the season. They were over there in lot 15, just south of the pine tar kiln, and they were finding all those oxen shoes. And they were finding them all in a line along a path. And they were talking about that. And they said, wow, there's and Gary even said, this is like a path, because they seemed to be following in a line. And Gary had said, it looks like it's a line that's heading back toward the swamp.
Toward the road.
Right. Exactly. Right toward where the road is. And so if that's true, if they clear this area, now I don't know if they would need those stones. It depends on how hard the ground was. If they would need to bury all those stones up here, probably not. But you never know. They might, just simply to keep it more of a roadway and make it easier for the carts to get over this area. So maybe it did. Maybe it stops here and only went to the pine tar kiln. And that's what they were
That
doing.
was 500 feet, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Well, yeah, there was a point that they were looking at from another point. They were saying 500 feet down to the money pit. But here, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the distance here would be, but you're probably right. I think you're right about 500 feet or so. Yeah, I am. I'm trying. I know my little. I was actually trying to get a bigger. I forgot all about it before the show, but I was trying to get a bigger mouse pointer, something that I could, download and get my mouse pointer to be a little bigger so you guys could see what I'm pointing. I'll get that going as soon as I can. I promise. Linda will remind me to fix my mouse pointer. Anyway, so you guys can see what I'm pointing at here. But and so that was this. That's why I grabbed this picture, simply because they were showing that line, and I just felt that it was so interesting because this is where Gary and Jack Begley had found all those oxen shoes right along this pathway here, or a pathway that was in lot 15 that he said was heading towards the swamp. So that's why I grabbed this one, because I thought that was a good point and a good time to bring that back up now. Let's see. Laird says, yes, survey stake, no barbed wire, hog wire, or presence of for a fence. Yeah. So let's see. Replying to Linda Paul Camp. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Larger icon for, yeah. Okay. So Cam's finding the wire. No, nah, they didn't find any wire that we know of. You. Oh, come on, Linda. Don't say that. That's not true. Linda says, whatever. Jeff does what he wants. I have zero influence. That's not true.
Oh, boy. Oh.
I do my best to listen and do. I may not always follow instruction, but I tried my best. Anyway, as we digress.
Both of us do.
Oh my goodness. So anyway, so there we go with that picture there. And then I like this one. This is the artist's rendition of the swamp. And of course, this being the swamp area over here on the left. And this would be about where they are at that time in the show. And they were talking about how it seems as though, and Ian Spooner and also Aaron Taylor were down in the mud. And they were explaining to Rick how it seems like it's heading that way. And they were pointing this way into the uplands, which is that heading towards lot 15. And they were saying that it looks like it's splitting off. And then, of course, you have this piece here that's heading, in my opinion, over towards the eye of the swamp area. Okay.
I think one of the things I found interesting, he said you could pick those rocks up and rearrange and go a different direction very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And something else too is that Henry DeWitt and I were chatting about this the other night. The fact that talking about this road and how it's heading that way, and does it head towards the eye of the swamp, or does it go even further? What else is in that direction? If that road is heading over and it's going further on, what else do we know that's in that direction? And this is something Henry and I were talking about, was Cone E is over there also. Now you got to go beyond the eye of the swamp, but that's heading over towards Cone E. And Cone E, again, is the foot of Nolan's Cross. The foot of Nolan's Cross, which is what somebody mentioned to us. That would be Aaron Helton had mentioned that is a good place to look. I don't know. It's a theory. It's just an idea that occurred to us as we were chatting about it. But and that's something I really enjoy, is to be able to kind of discuss some of these things with everybody as we go along. So Tony, everybody's saying hi. Tony, is Tony here? I didn't see a message pop up saying Tony was here. Anyway, Tony, if you're here, hi. Glad you're here. Welcome.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting, and that's why I like these little artist rendition pictures here. There was another one here that I grabbed off the show simply because it was showing if Oak Island was definitely two separate islands at one time. If it was, this would be kind of an idea of the stone road that we now know is there, the main bulk of it would be, like right here. I think this is what they were trying to say. And this would be a wharf that was connected to it that went out into the ocean where you could bring up some little boats or whatever that you could dock right here. And then use those ring bolts would be in the dock in the wood, like Carmen was saying that those were ones that he had or was looked at the other day that they found were actually in wood and not in
wood,
stone.
The bottom's
Splayed
out.
Yep. So and you'd come up and you'd tie a smaller boats up to it and offload onto a dock, and then you would use the road that's already there to make your way up with your carts. You'd load the carts and off you'd go, right? So it makes sense. And that's why I grabbed this picture, because I thought it was kind of neat if that were and even if that road extends out further, which I kind of believe it extends out further. If you look at the road at the bottom of the swamp, we know that the stone road that they have goes underneath it. Now, how far underneath it do we know? We don't know. And how far out into the ocean does it go beyond the road that they built? We don't know. But so it could extend a little further out, knowing the water levels were lower back then. It could go out quite a ways. And then this could be more of what they were doing. They could have had a dock like this one and then hooked up to the stone road, bring their boats in, tie them off with those ring bolts, and then off they would go and unload and then haul stuff up. And I had another.
Tony's never done a second dive to really get a feel for what they have out there.
I know. And that's something that I wanted to. I know we couldn't really press Tony on it. When we had him on the show the other day, simply because that's not something he could really, talk about, because they hadn't really aired. I don't think the season
took effect on that one.
Right. We don't know if they're going to air it. And I wanted so badly to get more information from him. And that, Tony, we kind of talked about it before the show. And I just said, we just can't discuss that, unfortunately. But I really wanted to know more about what he saw, or if they were able to go back outside of the road to see if there was anything out there of more of interest. He's talked about a square area of stone, just like all these other stones, but wasn't able to really elaborate on that very much. So Janet says, so do you think that there were floating docks, or if the docks were stationary, wouldn't there be some kind of supporting post in the swamp? Yes. I think you are right. If it was a dock that was built with posts in the ground, yes, those posts would definitely have been used. But if that road extends, if the stone road extends underneath the road they built in the bottom of the swamp, and it goes underneath there, those things you're talking about, those piers or those posts or whatever, would be out there. They'd be out in the ocean, offshore, on the other side of the actual road they built. In my mind, that would be where they would be. They wouldn't be in the swamp, because
it'd be a marker light to come in.
Right, that too, yes. And so, but it would be outside. It'd be over the road in the water. Yeah, it'd be out there. They wouldn't be in here, because the road, we know, goes. If it was set up like this, where the road is at the end of, the dock is at the end of the road, this would be out in the ocean, further out to where we haven't really been yet, except for Tony out there diving.
It'd be almost like a buoy out there, what we would call a buoy today.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's see. I try to go back to the chat, because I know you guys are discussing some of this stuff, and I don't want to miss what you say. Pam Block says hundreds of years of muck settling would be hard to dig up on the water. Yes, it would be hard to dig up on the waters. Frank is here with us. Frank, thank you for coming, Frank. Appreciate it. Prometheus has not shown a second dive. Right. If he did, we don't know about it. And that's why Tony wasn't able to really elaborate on that kind of stuff. We understand that. Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn. How you doing? Glad you're here. So anyway, that was why I grabbed this picture, just because it kind of leads to that whole idea of, the road going around the bottom of the swamp. And then if the dock was there, it would be out further in the water, and that's why I grabbed this particular picture, because I wanted to kind of elaborate on that a little bit. And again, these are just my ideas. This doesn't mean that, I have any inside information, which I do not. And I could be completely off base. But
our guess is as good as yours, members.
Yeah, and that's why. But I like bringing this up, because everybody else can talk about this stuff too with me, and we can make a come to our own theory on it, right? So Hey, Derek, how you doing? Derek's here with us tonight. Glad you made it. So anyway, that's why I grabbed that particular picture. After that point, we got Miriam and Rick are working over in the in the same area in the Stone Road. They're actually digging into it a little bit further, and lo and behold, they come across blue clay. Why would this blue clay be over there? Unless it fell off of a cart. If they were actually hauling blue clay out of the eye of the swamp, which Ian Spooner had said, Dr. Spooner had mentioned that last season.
Right.
Um,
Didn't Marion say that would be able to hold the road together also? I believe.
Yeah, it would. I mean, if and I was trying to imagine that. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Jack, because that's a good point. If you wouldn't want that on the surface that people are walking or the oxen are on or the carts would be going over. But if you put that stuff on top of the rock and then you put dirt on top of that, it would keep that dirt from settling down through the rock and then washing away, right? It would
make for a smoother road.
Make for a smoother surface. Exactly. Very good point. And so I don't know. But if that were the case, I thought if that's the case, wouldn't they have found a lot more of it? Maybe this was one particular spot where, and we don't know how much they really found. We saw them pick up about 3 or 4 pieces of it, chunks, yay size, but they would have found it everywhere on the rock. And this was the only place that I know of that they showed us on the show that they found that blue clay in the roadway. So my initial thought was, oh, it fell off of a cart while they were hauling it, but I don't know. And again, this is one of those things that Ian Spooner would have to kind of give us more information on what he thinks about that idea.
And it's so close to get it and bring it over too at this point.
Mm-hmm. And they're almost to the eye of the swamp at this point. Where they're at right here, they're almost there. So it could have fallen off a cart. It could have, I don't know. What do you guys think? Linda said it would keep the dirt from washing off as well. Yep. Isn't blue clay formed from salt water? I don't know, Pam. That's not a question that I can answer. I'm not sure. Somebody else may know the answer to that. Don said it's a good question. It is a good question. Let's see. Oh, Marilyn says I'm playing catch up. Yep. Okine is rich in endless mysteries. Yes, it is, certainly. That's why we're here, right? Because we love these endless mysteries. Didn't they say that it was used for waterproofing or like putty? Yes, Janet, they did mention that. Yes. And that's a very good point. If they would definitely be able to use that in around the money pit. If they were building these tunnels underground, that it's a very good thing to use to keep the water out, to seal up things. It could be used for multiple applications when you're trying to seal things from water getting through. So yeah, there's a lot of different things you could do with it.
Even Dan Hensky found some over in Swiss Cove, if I remember one show, part of a show. He went and found it. He remembered where it was.
Wow, I don't remember that, but that you could be right. If you guys remember that, bring that up. Because I don't. I know he went over there and he found the coconut fiber right off. He told me right where to find it.
It could be coconut. I could be off there. I think you said right.
Yeah, I don't know. You could be right. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
No, I'm not sure. So we're both. I could be way off.
Linda Lottie says, could the eye be a clay mine and the road used to transport the clay locations on it? Yes, Linda, that's something that Ian Spooner had mentioned last season when he found the clay and a lot of it and Jack Bagley was in there. Matter of fact, they even showed a clip of that in last night's episode of Jack in there pulling this stuff up. There was a lot of blue clay in the eye of the swamp. And that's what Ian said. He said, oh, it's this is a blue clay mine. They found a large quantity of it and they were hauling it out of here and using it for maybe in the money pit, maybe on ships, maybe who knows what for. But that was his summation at that point. So you're right. That's what I was just saying. Maybe they were loading it up and hauling it and some of it fell off. And that's simply why they found it here. Don't know.
Tom Burns said clay, I think, was found in the seawall in Smith's Cove as a waterproofer. Well, maybe I wasn't all wrong.
Yep. Darlene says that Laird may know the answer to that. He may. Tom Burns says if the ox carts were used for multiple purposes, clay would just be a piece of what stuck to the cart. Yeah, and had fallen off at some point while they were rolling back and forth. You're right. I mean, if they had all they needed and whatever, I mean, and that's why they were finding coal. I mean, why did they find coal along the road? Because they were hauling coal, obviously, and some of it was falling off the cart as they were, going along. Are you going to stop and pick up every little piece of coal that falls off? No, you're not going to. And that in the war room, when Ian was in there and he had them all, they were talking about the coal and the dating of it, or the microorganisms in it anyway. He passed out several pieces of it around the table there. So they found quite a bit. And we know that they find a lot more stuff than they ever show us on the TV show. But anyway, so we don't really know about why this blue clay was there. And again, it was because it can be used in so many different applications. It's hard to say what they were doing with it. Linda says blue clay is formed from sediment in lakes and rivers and even volcanic ash. No indication it is formed by salt water. Okay. Tom Burns says clay is supposedly found in the shafts. Was supposedly found in the shafts. Okay. Interesting. And he also said clay, I think clay I think it was found in the seawall in Smith's Cove. And yeah, you just said that. Yep. You're both right.
Gee.
Yeah, you're both right. So yeah, apparently that there was some found over there. So yep, you were right, Jack. And I knew somebody would know the answer to that. But anyway, so that's why I grabbed that picture there. And it's just interesting. This blue clay is just so kind of interesting because of its, the blue color. I've seen a lot of clay up in the UP of Michigan, but it's never blue.
Never blue.
It's always a brownish, tannish color. And a lot of it. And it was so weird. I know I mentioned this at that one show, and the bulldozer was pushing it, so it was rolling like carpet. It was about 4 inches thick. He was taking about a 4-inch cut off, and it was rolling like carpet in front of the bulldozer. And you could just walk over, snap off a piece of it, and I could sit there and mold it into whatever I wanted right there on the spot. It was that. There was no like Rick had said. There's no dirt inside. There was dirt on it, obviously, but there's no dirt inside of it. No, it's pure blue clay, and that's how this was. It was pure clay. There was no dirt or anything in it. You could just mold it right there on the spot. It was really neat, but I've never seen the blue before. And then I took one more shot here. He was showing another picture of it. Just grabbed that picture there as well. Pat says it's red here in Mississippi. Yep, red clay. So anyway, that was those. And speaking of red, and I was a little hold back on showing this picture. I wasn't sure, if I wanted to really show it or not, because they didn't really. Ian Spooner mentioned the red rocks, and I didn't, and I thought he didn't really elaborate on it that I caught anyway, unless anybody else happened to catch that. But he was talking about the red rocks, and they showed a couple pictures of them. And there's one right there, and I know you can't. It doesn't. Unfortunately, the red doesn't stand out like it does on the show or on the TV when you're watching it. But unless somebody else caught that, what was he really talking about with the red rocks? I think he mentioned something about a transition. It was indication of a transition, but turning of the road, a transition in the road, maybe a marker of some point or something. I don't know. What do you guys think?
He didn't go into detail on it, that's for sure. He kind of left it hanging right there.
Mm-hmm. Somebody let me answer this real quick. Somebody just texted me. It was actually our friend over at James, our friend over at Phoenix Rising on Twitch that actually does the show over there. And he was just talking about this. It is on Twitch now. I'm simulcasting on Twitch right now, so it should be there. Anyway. Sorry about that, folks. I don't mean to do like stuff like that while I'm on, but he did, Rick, when he was looking at the clay, that's something somebody said like putty. Did he call it puddle? He called it puddle clay. Did he call it? I thought he called it puddle clay. I've never heard that term before. used with clay, puddle clay. Judy Rudabush says, wasn't the blue clay found in the eye of the swamp? Maybe they were transporting it from the yeah, exactly. Yep, like putty. But so I didn't quite catch that. About the puddling. I thought he said puddle. He called it puddle clay.
And I don't know I really don't know the
I don't
term.
know exactly what that means. Let's see here. All right. Let's see. I was just reading a message here. Okay.
The swamp is
Puddled.
more questions than
Jan,
answers right now.
Jan Anderson said puddled clay. Puddled clay. It was something like that. Puddled clay. Bottom of a puddle. Clay found at the bottom of a puddle. Is that what it means, Don? I don't know. Is puddle clay when it comes out as a liquid and hardens to a solid clay? Janet, that was Janet asked that question. Right. I don't know. Janet also asked, are the red rocks slate or shale? I don't know. They didn't really talk about it that much. That looks like a slate type of rock there, but
right.
Yeah, I don't know. Is both okay? Here's a description. Linda went out and got a description for me. Thank you, Linda. She says, puddling is both the material and the process of lining a water body such as a channel or a pond with puddle clay, a water-type material based on clay and water mixed to be workable. That's from Wikipedia. So there you go. Thank you, Linda. See, I'm telling you, she's working so hard all the time, this woman.
The answer lady.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, she plays many roles. She helps me with my pronunciation. All the time. So yeah, interesting. Anyway, so red rocks. I don't know. I don't know if they were slate or shale of some type, but he talked about a transition, but he didn't elaborate on it. So I grabbed the picture, but again, I was tempted not to even show it because I didn't know what the heck he was talking about because they really didn't go back to it. So anyway, if anybody else has some, and
clear as mud.
Tom always clear as mud. Yep. Me and Bill Nye, the science guy. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Thank you for the puddle clay definition there. Yep. Exactly. All right. So, and then I grabbed this picture right at the end there, and then wrapping up the whole session of what they were doing in the swamp, because as you can see right here, there they are, and they're right. And here's the eye. Actually, I think this is the eye right here. I don't think this is it up here. I think it's this section right here is the eye. You see how close they are to it, and this is where they're working. So, and there's the yard, Tom Nolan's yard. So they're like right there now. So are they going to continue dig? And he's got a little parking lot right here. Tom does. So are they going to dig up the parking lot, or where's this road go? Does it turn and head over here? It might stop right here. It might come over here and just stop. And then the other portion where it's heading up into the uplands was back over here, heading up into the uplands. So yeah, we know we're not done yet with the Stone Road. There's bound to be a couple more episodes on it. But I'd like to see if they come to an end with it. I'd like to see it come to the final. Oh, yep, we've run out of stone. This is the end of the road. So, and find out where exactly it goes.
Which would tell us an awful lot right then and there.
Yep. Yeah, it would. You're right. Exactly right. Because it'd tell us, what they were doing. Where does it stop? Does it stop at the eye? Well, then they were definitely getting that blue clay, or they were bringing blue clay in, and they were seeing. That's the thing. I'm one of these guys that believes that the eye of the swamp holds more secrets than we know. With those rocks around it. Why did it have a ring of rocks in there? And why did it have all that blue clay in there? Was the ring of rocks simply to say, okay, we're marking the spot where the blue clay was, where we found it? Or did they seal something up to keep water from getting into an opening and the rocks were like ringing the opening, and they were using the clay to seal it up. That's what I want to believe. I'm probably all wet with that, but that's what I want to believe. What do you guys think? Is the eye of the swamp actually an entrance?
I still want to see that anomaly.
Could it be?
I'm sorry.
Oh, the anomaly in the swamp too. Yeah, I know. That would be back over in this area over here, down in the
but they never went
right-hand
deep
corner.
enough to do anything with it.
I know. They didn't go deep enough. You're right. If that was truly an opening where water went through here, making it two islands, they didn't go deep enough because that could very well be deeper. So you could be right. You could be right. Let's see. They've got a lot of digging to do on that road. Yes, they do.
Yes.
We have at least 6 more episodes and maybe a few more this year. Yep. We've got some information, a little bit of it. We've nothing definite, but we know there's at least 6 more probably. We don't know if they will uncover the whole road, just figure out where it's going, like along the edge, right? I think that, see, if they've gone this far, and if they know if it goes up into the uplands, and they know it goes over here, they're pretty much out of the swamp at this point. I mean, almost. If they get over here to the eye and they find it dead ends, then they don't have to worry about the swamp filling back up with water and muck and everything and covering up what they just did all summer, because it won't cover up what's over here, and it's not going to cover up what goes up into the uplands. So they can continue with. So it looks like they've at least got as far as they can with this road in during this last summer. So let's see. I missed some stuff here. Oh, somebody said me too, Jack. Oh, the anomaly. I think that was Jan talking about the anomaly.
Yeah.
Swamp is where it's at. Janet says they stood in the rocks as solid ground so they wouldn't sink into the mud as they worked. Yep. That could be true.
Yeah.
We know that they were hauling carts along there because they did find some evidence of there being some carts along there. So the answer is in the swamp. That was Anne Marie. Judy Rudabush says Darcy O'Connor's book after page 144 shows pictures of pieces of wood and red brick-like material. Borehole number 9. The Secret Treasure of Oak Island updated edition. All right. I'm going to have to go get that now. You are right. I was reading that today. I'll picture it for you guys. All right, cool. That was Linda replying to Judy. So great. We're going to get some information about Darcy O'Connor's book. That'll be neat. I wonder if Marty likes the swamp now.
Marty would never like the swamp,
Neat
but
as
he likes
usual,
the
right?
information.
Yeah. Oh, we got Chris over on the YouTube side. Good work, he says. All right, thank you. Appreciate that, Chris. So anyway, if they, like I said, if they do finally get to the end of the road and figure out that what the portions of it that are in the swamp, then they don't care if it gets covered back up. I think they've investigated it at length this last summer. But again, you just want to be able to find out where does it go and where does it end. And I'm looking at the other end of it too, out in the ocean, to see how far out in the ocean does it extend. So that's interesting to me as well. Okay, so all right, I'm going to jump away from the swamp now, and where are we heading now? Oh no, actually, well, what lot was this? Was this 15 or 13? Let me look at my notes here. Puddle blue clay. Let's see. My notes are not complete. 13. This is lot 13. Lot 13. They got up here and they were looking at. Gary went up here because they were going to do some metal detecting, and right off the bat, Gary gets a hit, and then he looks over and he looks at this rock right here, and they find what they think is this, or they find this steel or iron sticking up out of it, and a little hole there. And so I'm pretty sure that was lot 13.
Yes.
On my other page of notes, but so this was up very, very close to this is on Nolan's property up there. So they found this ring up there, and they brought Tom up to see if he could remember or not ring. They found the steel coming up out of there. And I was Linda helped me with this a little bit. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just looking back at let's see. It says wasn't the metal detected in the stones around the eye of the swamp. Wasn't metal detected. There was some different metal they found over there, but that wasn't, necessarily the they found some different things over there. They found that what looked like the outer ring race of a bearing. They found what looked like a lock, and they never did go back to that lock yet. I'm still very curious about that lock. They kind of let that drop off the face of the earth when Gary found that lock. They haven't discussed it again. We haven't seen Carmen look at it yet, and I'm assuming he has at some point. It could have turned out to be a master lock from 1960, maybe, but it did have flat edges. So I'm still curious about that. So yeah, they did find a lot of metal over there, but this particular spot they found, Gary got a hit, and then he looked over and he looked at this boulder there, and he saw the steel sticking up out of the top of it, and he pointed it out to everybody. And there it is right there. Now, when I first saw that, and Linda kind of helped me to better understand this, when I first saw that, I'm thinking that can't be a ring bolt because there's two pieces there. But then she said they sheared off the actual ring, and that's why we're not seeing the bottom of the ring, which would be down in the rock area down here. So this would be where they cut across the ring and actually cut half the ring in half. The actual eye or the ring cut across. So that makes sense. And then I'm like, okay, that makes more sense as to why there would be two pieces sticking up out of there. But anyway, so that's right there at the coming up on the stone. But one other thing they didn't say, and I mentioned this earlier with Linda and Jack, and I said, Gary got a hit when he first came up there and he started going with the metal detector. He got a hit. You heard it. I heard it. And then he looked over and goes, oh, look at this. What's this right here? And he looked at the rock, and he never did go back to what his hit was. It must have been nothing because we didn't get to see what.
We didn't get to see it.
It must have been nothing. And Linda had pointed out that, we've been told that they found there's probably been 400 or 500 different things that they found metal detecting on the island that weren't anything of note. So that's why we haven't seen it or heard about it, because it was, something from the 60s or whatever, searchers that were there dropping stuff out of their pockets or what have you. But that's why I guess we haven't. But there's been 400 or 500 different things they found on the island, and we just don't see about all that stuff because, it would take up too much time. Master lock, 1965, I think. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Stone holes with cut off ring pin. Yep. So yeah, that was pretty interesting, but I was kind of mad because I thought, well, wait a minute, Gary got a hit. I wanted to see what he found. I wanted to see him dig it up, but this was more important, and that's why they got onto this thing. Now, the other thing about this that I wanted to point out, and again, this is one of Jeff's crazy theories. Remember when they were talking about, we showed that they were like, I don't necessarily think they would pull a chest up the stone road. There was a picture that somebody had an artist rendition of a rope
There's
going.
a bunch of ring bolts going up a hill.
Yeah, they had the rope going through all these ring bolts going down the hill, and they were pulling a chest up over the rocks on the road. And it's like, no, but they might use it to pull something up the stone road to help aid something coming up the stone road, maybe. And if this boulder was up there and it had a ring bolt in it, which it looks like it did, and it was some sort of an anchor point, this could have been an anchor point for what? I don't know, but it could have been an anchor point. They could have tied off at this point and had the rope going down the road, because it is I think it's kind of in line with where they are working on the stone pathway. So, the one that goes up into the uplands there. So it's in line with that. So maybe it ties in some way. Maybe it was an anchor point that they were tying off a rope onto. Don't know. We don't know for sure, but that was just what I was thinking. Let's see. Tom remembers the stone with the ring. Why? Oh yeah. Good point, Tom. Tom remembered the stone with the ring
Right.
bolt. Why wouldn't he have mentioned it when they showed him in the ring bolt several shows earlier? Good point. I don't know. Maybe he just didn't think of it. Who knows? Maybe he did. And maybe that was because you noticed that Ian Spooner was really sweating. Maybe this was earlier in the summer. I don't know. I mean, they jump around, so it's hard to say. Um, so did Fred cut it off? This was Judy asking. So did Fred cut it off? There is still enough there to cut off and test. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He must have.
But he did say it was one that his dad had found.
Yes. Yeah, he did say his dad found this. This was the cut ring bolt, he said, and I don't know if that means Fred cut it or was it cut before. I don't know. Let's see. They didn't go back to the pocket watch. That cover, it looked like the back of a pocket cover. They didn't go back to that or the lipstick case either. You're right, Janet. Hopefully they will later in, that's the thing about this. Like that, we're saying lipstick case. Well, we don't know if that's what it was or not. I'm going to still hold out on that until I hear from, somebody else that gets to look at that, if what that truly is. But yeah, you're right. If we never hear about it ever again, then it's going to be a lipstick case. Unfortunately, that's what happens. Sometimes we don't get answers to these things like we'd like to. Let's see. Okay, I'll bring that up in just a second. It was black and white picture. Linda just shared a picture with me, and I might show this in a minute here if I can. It's how well it'll show up, but we'll try that in a minute. Thanks, Linda. Let's see. Linda said they knew he had seen this one. He just wasn't sure from his childhood where it was. Oh, okay.
And they knew that it had been moved there. They were very certain of that because the rock was so embedded.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Judy says, would love to know the inside shape of the hole. Round, like drilled, triangular, like chiseled. Good point. That would give you more answers, wouldn't it? Certainly. Linda Law is, I don't know if I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, Linda Lawdy or Laud, or Loud, he has been shown so much over the years by his dad. He probably just didn't connect it until they saw it. Yeah, you're right. And that could be the case. I mean, he was
probably told a lot of things, but never anything put on paper.
Right.
I would imagine.
Yep.
Fred was pretty secretive about what he.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. There's no doubt about that. Him and Dan, both, Dan Blankenship, were both very secretive about all this stuff.
But the only thing is, with Dan, with the fellowship, they got to know him, so there was a trust built up there. They never quite got there with Fred because he dies, so soon after they.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's very true. Let's see. Don said, yeah, he may have wanted to test the metal. Tom Burns says, use ring bolt as anchor for block and tackle. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Definitely could do that. Going up and over a tree or, and that would be your anchor point. You could use that for a lot of different things, as an anchor point. And that when you put a ring bolt in a big rock like that, it's got to be an anchor point of some point or of some type, I would think. I mean, maybe a line was running down through it and you were using it as a guide for the line you're using, maybe, but or a tie-off point, I would think, because you're not going to move that boulder very easily. That's a big rock. And he said they were wondering, did it get moved here or had it been sitting here a long time?
Yeah, that's what Dr. Spooner said, no.
Mm-hmm, right. He had said that it was sunken in the dirt deep enough to say it's been sitting there for a long time. Let's see. I'm falling behind on the chat here.
Janice said the rainbow did make sense going up and down, which is true.
Thank you. I'm sorry, what was that?
Janet said that the ring bolt doesn't make sense going up and down a hill because you'd have to attach and detach. which is also very, very true.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, that's a good point. Barb said, "I wonder if the ring bolts were used for hitching to oxen too." Mm-hmm. To tie 'em. Yeah, it could be. And used as a sled to pull chests on or whatever. Yeah, something they might have had to, pull something up the hill, and they could. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to
Yeah.
say.
Linda just put on here that we have to remember that Tom never lived on an island and Fred did share well, which is very obvious.
Right. Right. Yep. Exactly. Sharon says ships were bringing over some heavy things from England, like tons of lead. Yep. Let's see. Barb says if you remember all the anchor stones with the ring bolts and Dan Blankenship's map, it makes me think that there were hitching animals too, like oxen and horses. There you go. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's the same thing that Barb was saying. Let's see. Ring bolts doesn't make sense going up or down. It would have to detach the item. This is what you were saying at each bolt hole and reattach it to continue going up and down. Makes more sense to just get the oxen to pull up directly. And they would need to. You're right. Yeah. When you got to each ring bolt, you'd have to undo it. That makes total sense. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying anchor point. I'm thinking it's more likely as some sort of an anchor point. And they would need to go to the bottom. Yep. Let's see, and they would need a little cut of it, and definitely a lipstick case. Just saying. She said, "This was Janet still saying, and they need to show the bottom of the lipstick case. If it was a little cutout in it, it definitely is a lipstick case. Just saying. That's something you would probably know, and I would have no
I have
idea.
no idea.
Because I don't use one of those, obviously. No, I don't. We have to remember that Tom, yeah, exactly. That's what you just said. Tom actually never lived on the island. Pulleys could have been attached to anchors. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it could be a pulley attached to the anchor. That's a good point, Don. They could have had a pulley attached to the anchor bolt or the ring bolt, and then that pulley is where the rope went through the pulley. But again, I don't know. It's just one of those things that we just don't know for sure what they were doing with these things. They may have a better idea on the island, but I certainly am not sure. So that wrapped up that section over there, and we'll get I'm sure next week we're going to find out more about the road, the stone road. It's just seemed like so many episodes. That's what it's been covering. One thing. Okay, now we're jumping over to the money pit. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up about the shot, I grabbed this shot, and I don't always show these pictures of the money pit from the drone footage, but I wanted to grab this one, and I'll explain as we go along here. But the positioning of the drill rig, and again, I know that these pictures aren't always shown in sequence. They grab these pictures from stock footage. Oh, let's just use that one of the money pit. That's good enough. Nobody will recognize anything. I'm hoping this one was more timely in the show last night. And the reason I grabbed it was because I was trying my best to figure out using the map, the bore map, trying to figure out exactly where they're going with this, following this tunnel that they're working on, right? And the last 6 or 8 boreholes that they've dug, trying to nail down where the money pit is. And so the reason I grabbed this picture was for that reason, because my directioning was all off. And here's this, I call this this little ridge right here, because it is a little hill where it comes up over here, where 10X is up over here in this section. Off to the middle right is where 10X is over here. And this is a little hill right here. And this is the memorial to the women of Oak Island. This little spot, you see these rocks right here. I was thinking that I was showing this because these guys are moving the drill rig. If it's a timely picture, the drill rig is moving to the west. It's heading towards this truck parked back here. This is Choice Drilling's truck with a door open on it. They're moving that way. Okay, so in my thinking of what they were doing with the drilling, and they were working C3 on last night's show. So I grabbed this little picture just to to so you guys could see that. So they were working C3 on the show last night, and they found wood again. Okay, everybody's up wood. Jiminy, how many times have they shown this same? I could have grabbed any stock picture of them finding wood, and it would,
it's almost like they have a forest underneath the ground
from last night's. Yeah, Don, I'm going to bring that up. That's exactly what I was getting ready to bring up, Don. That's where I'm heading there. Just you and I, like minds. Yeah, great minds think alike. But anyway, so they pulled up this wood, right? And so they're following something, and they keep hitting wood at the same level in all these holes. Now,
88 feet.
Yeah, right around 86, 87, 88 feet. Now, this is my map, and that I got, and again, great, because Linda bought it and sent it to me. But I grabbed this because, and I wanted to show this, and I got to say that last night, and I didn't see it, but I was talking with Deidre White from Could It Be Oak Island, and she was, and I love their show, by the way, but she was talking about this last night, and I didn't catch this, but her and I were discussing this today, and she had a picture of a map she has, and I was going to show it tonight. She said I could use it and show you guys this map tonight, but it's too small. I was bringing it up, and then she sent me another one, but it's also too small. It was just, you can't see it. When I could try it and show you guys it for a moment. I'll try, but you'll just see that it's just too small. You can't really see what we're looking at. If we need to zoom in on it. But anyway, what I was getting at with this is these are the boreholes that they've been working on right here. You've got C6, C5, C4, C3. You got BC3 right here is one that they had dug. And there's actually, they've done BC4, and all along this like a rectangle that they've working, and they're following this along, right? So go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you saying? Were you going to say something, Jack?
No,
I'm sorry. I thought I'd cut you off there. So they're following this along, and they're heading to the west. Okay. And I was trying to get my orientation with this, with the actual money pit, trying to look at it, in a bird's eye view, looking down on a drone view, looking down on the money pit and trying to figure out just what is the orientation of this thing. We know that this is north up here at where the numbers are across the top. That's north, and west would be going to the left, right? So they're heading west. I was thinking that and if you line this up with the memorial that's on, in the money pit there, I was thinking that memorial would have been over here where B, C, and D would be on the left side of this grid map, right?
Right.
No, that's wrong. I had to rethink this. I think the memorial is actually up here around where 3, 4, 5, somewhere in this area would be. And the reason I think that is because they're heading west. And if I go back to this picture, and I'm going to do this quickly, and hopefully this picture here, when they were a week or so ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, they were actually over here drilling. They were closer straight off of the women's memorial. Now they're over here, and that is heading west. North would be towards Smith's Cove, which is off to the right. Here's the road.
And that's where I thought they were.
Yeah, I did too. That's what I thought they were heading this way towards Smith's Cove.
I mean, when we talked about this earlier tonight, I was like, okay.
Yeah, boy. Me too. And so my brain was thinking that they were heading towards Smith's Cove, but no, they're not. They're heading west, and they even said that a couple weeks ago that they were heading northwest, and they're following this ridge right here, heading towards this truck. That's going west. North would be towards Smith's Cove. South would be towards the ocean. So they're going west, right? So they're heading that way. And as Don just said, no, I couldn't, Deidre, I couldn't get it to zoom in. I didn't have enough time to really mess with it. I really appreciate you sending that. And I will show everybody, I'll show it everybody real quick too before we go. that picture that you sent, and it's great work. She's done a lot of work on this, and she made her own. Steve Guptill map, Guppy map. So she's got her own Guppy map that she made, and it's really, really good. It's much better than mine, but unfortunately, it's just too small. So, but I think we'll see. You might see it pop up here pretty soon. Not tonight, I mean, but on the group page, we'll see. But anyway, Don Brents was just talking about this. What do we know? What have we heard recently about something going west from the money pit heading west? Aaron Helton, right? Aaron Helton was talking about the fact that if you take and go from the money pit and you head west from the money pit and you head towards Cone E, which is the base of Nolan's Cross, right? And she was talking about that heading. So where did they did that? Remember they did that test borehole a few weeks ago, right? That test borehole was over here by the wood edge. And if you can see my mouse, I'll wiggle it around a little bit so you can see it. It was right over here. That's where they did their test hole. And they're heading right towards it. And they're following a tunnel. So was Aaron right all along? And they just missed it when they did their test hole over there? What do you guys think about that?
They did not stay long in that area over there at all.
No, they sure didn't. I think, well, we only saw that they drilled one hole. And they said, oh, no, they didn't anything, we're done. Now, we don't know, again, because we don't know the timing of things, and we only see bits and pieces of hours and hours, hundreds of hours worth of filming. But they didn't hit anything, and they gave up, as far as we know.
And it took Craig to get them back that way.
Right. And now they're heading back that way. And you're right. It was because of Craig and Steve Guptill, and they're working together on all the data that they've collected. And being a data man that Craig is. And then of course, Steve Guptill, they worked together and they came up with all this stuff. So I'm thinking they're heading towards, and if this is the shaft that Aaron Helton was telling them about, that they're following, they might be following Aaron's shaft that she was talking about. What are the chances of that? And Marilyn said they missed it. They missed it because women are always right.
Oh.
I'm going to stay away from that.
Yes.
Let's see.
I like to live.
Yeah, I like to keep,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny how that's come around full circle, though, because they have been all over the place this year, drilling.
I know they really have, yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're getting 5 or 6 hits in a row, same depth, everything going, and they're hitting it consistently now.
Yep, they're hitting it consistently at about 86 to 88 feet. They're hitting this thing consistently. So, I mean, isn't that cool? All right, so, then move on. All right, let me move on. Tom Burns, move on. All right, Tom. Anywho, so that's what I wanted to point that out, because they're heading that way, and they very well could be, heading towards Aaron Helton's dig. So anyway, they're going to continue moving. Now, Rick did say too, he was on, and he was looking at their map they had on the table there, and he was showing up here in this area, up here around so would that be AB4, AB3? He was running his finger around over here, and he was talking about the fact that they need drill over here as well. They need to punch a couple holes over here. So we'll find out if they're going to do that or not. But you might have been referring to me moving on, because I was saying about women, they're still coming up. I have no illusion that women are always right, says Linda Simpson. Yeah. Okay. And so I'm not going to go there. So anyway, so we're going to see if they continue digging over there and what they come up with. Right. So we'll find out. So anyway, it's just really good. We get very bored by the fact that they keep coming up with wood in the money pit, but they are following a tunnel. Finally, they have definitive proof that they are following wood underground at the same consistent level heading west. That's what's important about all of this. Okay. That's why I wanted to really kind of emphasize all this tonight. And so Tom says, run. Yes, run away. So anyway, little comedy in the show, I guess, is always good, right? So that's what that's all about. So that's why it's so important. And that's why I wanted to kind of spend some time with it. Okay. So now we get over to lot 15. And they got Michael John, who works for Billy Gerhardt's property improvement. And he gets to work in the equipment. Usually they're throwing everybody a shovel and saying, get in there, like the other guys that are work for him too are out there. But, we know that obviously Michael John has many more talents. And here he is in the backhoe. He's working the backhoe.
He's been on the wash table a lot too.
Yeah, the wash table. He's been all over the place. I mean, how lucky would that be to work for Billy? And then they say, hey, come on out, I mean, these guys should be doing landscaping or property improvement. That's what they work for, Billy Gerhardt Property Improvement, but they get to go play on the island. I'd be like, I'm going on the island. So that's really cool that they got this chance and these guys got this opportunity. But so anyway, he's over there working the backhoe, and they were working what they called the mound in the money pit in lot 15, which they said was close to where the pine tar kiln is in lot 15. So they get over here and they start working. So we're all getting very excited about the fact that they're going to be over there and digging up this mound and see what's underneath it. But they never got that far. We never did get to see what they actually found underneath the mound because they found Gary got a hit of iron. So they started digging. He had them dig over off the mound in the area that wasn't even part of the mound. And they dug up this big iron bar. And then they found another one and they found another one. So they found these 3 bars over there. And this one, being very peculiar here, has like what he called a heel on it, and a toe and a heel on this end right here. So they found these, and then that was the end of it. I don't know if they ended up digging up the mound or not. We never did get to see that. So it must not.
I know Michael John said that he thought it might have been a ballast. I remember him saying that.
Yeah. And because there are some, one of them they showed, and I didn't get a picture of it, but one of them they showed, I think it was this one, looked like it did have a little hole in it. Might have been this one here, but I didn't get a picture of it. But when they were showing it, one of them did look like it had a little hole in the end, and that's very indicative of being a piece of ballast, steel ballast, iron ballast. So interesting, I thought. That what was that for? Of course, they find these 3 pieces, they set them aside. They never did get back that we know of to the mound, but it was very good. And then they took those 3 pieces and they headed out towards Mr. Carmen Legge's blacksmith shop out at the farm. And so they headed out there. And I grabbed that little picture of the farm. Isn't that cool how they got all this stuff out there for people to go and check out? And hang out and spend a day out there looking at all the different stuff. That's really cool. I like those kind of places. Let's see. So they bring it over to there's Carmen. And then we love Carmen for the fact that he came on the show, and we love the role he plays, or, doing what he does on the island and giving them all such great information with what he's learned over the years. So that's really cool. But, and we can't thank him enough. And, hopefully he'll be coming back on the show with us. Wanted to grab this picture here, just simply, shows them showing it and how the shop is set up here. And Mr. Dan Hensky being able to go on a road trip and head over and visit with Carmen a little bit, and David Fernetti. I think that's David, right? Yes.
Yes.
So they get to have Carmen's opinion of these steel or iron bars and try to get an idea of exactly what they are. Well, he gave his opinion, and he thought that especially that one that has that toe and heel on it, he said that was part of in his opinion, part of a signal cannon, and was involved in he said it was broken off. And some of the pieces he was looking at, he said, these have been broken off. Now, for something like that to happen, they would have had to been under extreme pressure to make that happen. And or an explosion. That's what he said. An explosion. Something happened and blew this thing apart. and that's why it would have broken the metal the way, or the iron the way it did. So, I got thinking about that, and I thought, well, that's interesting. And what do we have? Um, I thought, what is a signal cannon? I wasn't really sure. I mean, obviously a cannon, but I figured, well, um, so I thought, well, maybe it's a small one, and I got a little description on that basically a signal cannon is used not so much to throw a large ball to knock holes into another ship or something like that, to sink it, but yet to shoot across the bow, or do some kind of signaling to other ships out at sea, or from land to indicate, um, some sort of that this is, you're coming towards land or something. I don't know. A signal cannon of some sort. Um, and you guys, I'm sure that other people have other better description than I just gave of that. So if you don't mind, if you want to, please jump in and say what your better description of what a signal cannon is. But I did go out and I Googled it a little bit myself to get some ideas. And what I did, I found, oh, there's that picture. This was from the promo. This is the picture they had from the promo when he was looking at it. And that piece that he's holding up on the top, right up here, is where that, I think this was the one that had that hole in it that might have indicated that it was a ballast of some sort, or looked like it might have been, which is where Michael John, probably came up with that from. So I went out on to Google. I Googled some cannons. Okay. And when I Googled signal cannon, this is one of the pictures that came up. Not all cannons have wheels. Some signal cannons have legs, not wheels. Well, if you look at this right here, now this bar that runs down here along the side, it is bent. And Carmen did say the one was bent there, but he said it was bent under duress, not because of something like this. But this is bent, and these bars come down, and then they form this base that it sits on. You would pick this base up, and you would use this base to move it around, or tie it to some sort of it would be used for
wagon.
Right, a wagon or something like that, to pull it behind a wagon and transport it from one place to another. You could also pick this up and aim it by picking this heel up. This is a heel of the cannon. Okay. And I have another picture here right there. Bam. That's the piece that they're talking about. So if Carmen is correct, this is the base. This would have been the base, or the leg, the back leg of a cannon that, yes, does still have wheels on it. Okay. It's that back leg that you would rest it upon, or use to pick up and put on a wagon to haul it somewhere else. So a skid, or whatever. Yes, exactly, Don. So that's a good point, that this very well could be the piece that he's looking at, because if you see this and then you look at that piece that he had, it has that heel on the back of it. Right.
And he did say it was English too.
Yes, he did say it was English, and he dated
early 1700s.
Yeah, he dated. He got pretty close on his. I mean, he got pretty narrowed down on his dating. He said 1710 to 1720. Now, how he come up with that, only Carmen knows, with his knowledge that he has, of all this kind of stuff. But that's what he said. He said early 1700s.
And the other thing I thought about, I talked to you about earlier before we went on the air, and I wanted to mention where they're finding all this. Lot 15 is the highest point on Oak Island, according to Dan Henske.
That's right. Yep.
So, I mean, if you wanted to be on high ground and fire, you'd have a lot of more range that way and everything.
Yep. You're exactly right. And we know that a lot of that island has been cleared off of all of its trees at some point. All those trees we see now were not there. There's pictures of the island when Samuel Ball would have been farming and all that, where there's hardly any trees on it at all. So that being the highest point, like you just said, if you're up on that highest point and you're shooting a cannon up there, a signal cannon, you're going to be able to signal. Somebody's going to see that, right? So, yep, military.
The other thing I wonder,
military stuff. Yeah, exactly.
I would like to see him tear that mound a little bit more to see if they come up with more parts to it also.
Exactly. And that was what I was saying. They never did go back, and we never saw. Back and finish digging up the rest of that mound. What else is there? I mean, you found these, and I was thinking the same thing. If this thing blew apart, was this just a scrap heap? Was this where some kind of a blacksmith shop was set up at some point, or something like that, to where, I was thinking if they found the legs, where's the actual cannon part? Maybe they kept that and used it and built it, rebuilt it. Maybe they actually kept the gun part of it, the cannon part, and just discarded the broken pieces. But if that thing blew up, it very likely was many pieces. And I was wondering, well, how come they didn't find that?
But they never went back to look for anything. Yeah,
Right.
anyhow,
That we know of, right?
that
Exactly.
we know of.
Yeah. Who said that? That was Darlene said, take a look at that cotter pin holding the wheel on. Looks like that ring bolt. It does.
It
It does
does.
look like that ring bolt. Very interesting. Good observation there. Let's see. Man, I've missed a lot of stuff here. Linda was saying that signal cannons could also be called salute cannons. They were used as warnings or to attract attention in case of an emergency or to warn off danger. Exactly. And they were smaller cannons. They weren't meant to, blow holes in ships.
They weren't battle cannons,
Right.
as
They
we
weren't
know.
battle cannons. Exactly. And they found in the promo for next week's show, they found that cannonball, and that cannonball would have been about the size of a six cannonball if you were to put and you've seen ships, pirate movies or whatever, or just naval battle movies from the day when they had these smaller cannons, the smaller ones that look like a large gun barrel mounted on different places on the ship. Those would be more for taking out people, I think, on the ship that you're fighting than they would be to be punching holes in it. You'd be trying to take out the guy at the helm or something like that with it, I would think. And those would use a smaller cannonball, which a smaller cannon would obviously use that. But anyway, I wanted to show this because of the that showing that heel. And that sure looks like, that heel right there sure looks like the
What they saw.
yeah, what they found. So Carmen could very well be correct. And I had one more picture. This one's a little bit different of a signal cannon. It was another one that came up in the views there. And this one's completely different at all. But again, it shows the fact that there are wheels, yes, and there's also a back tail or mount.
A bar going across, you could hook something to it and go.
Right. And you could also easily pick this up with two guys and maneuver it and reposition it however you wanted to. Okay. So that's why I wanted to show these pictures, because, everybody was like, oh, yeah, and how could he possibly think that had anything to do with a cannon when, in fact, it very well can, because of that heel that's on the back of it. Kind of the two other pieces, I would have thrown them out the window not having a clue what they were for. I would have probably said a piece of farm equipment. But that last piece with that heel on it, that pretty much tells you that it was some sort of the back end of something like that, like a signal cannon. So anyway, that's why I wanted to grab these pictures here and show those. So and then after they got done with Carmen over there, and hopefully we'll find out more about this. I'd love for them to actually find the actual cannon barrel part of it. There's some really cool pictures coming up here that's looks like Barb Wright is sharing one here. One that's a cannon that's mounted on a platform of some sort, a signal cannon, 1700 signal cannon. That's really cool. And that's why I just love it when you guys get on here and share stuff like that. That's fantastic. Really, I really do.
It's amazing what you could find. I mean,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
they had what they found. I forget where it was. They found 3 cannons when they were dredging somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I saw in the news. All of a sudden, now I around the Carolinas or something,
Mm-hmm.
it's all there. It's just never been found.
Right. And I know that somebody had brought up on our page too, on the group page, it was a cannon that was found down in down south someplace. I'm trying to remember just the details on that that was brought up, but it was really neat. Oops, I just accidentally closed it. Sorry, Linda. You just sent me a message and I accidentally closed it. Let's see. Fred found several cannons, but I think he found them in the water. I don't know for sure, but they are all over Karen Public Cover's property on the causeway, beyond the causeway, perhaps the other side of the causeway. Perhaps one of those was from this signal cannon. They're not that big, right? These aren't very big cannons. They are pretty small, so you could be very well. And hopefully, we can talk to her, Karen.
Kenneth just bailed me out with South Carolina. They found those cannons.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, so anyway, so that's true. I had forgotten about that. Fred did find some. Yeah, he may have found this one. Who knows? Because that's why I was wondering, where is the rest of it? I mean, if this thing blew apart and they threw all the pieces into a junk, that might have just been a pile, a junk heap. That whole mound might be a junk heap. That might have been a place where people were just throwing scraps and whatnot and piling it up. That might be why that mound is there. That'd be interesting. I'd still want to dig through it.
You get a lot of artifacts out of that, possibly.
I don't care if it was somebody's refuge heap. I'd still want to be dig through it and find out exactly what's in there, for sure. Yeah, I don't remember either. I do remember something about that, Linda, too. About Fred finding those, and I don't remember exactly. Does anybody else remember that? Fred talking about finding those things? I don't know. Let's see. The swamp was for docking. What is John saying here? Was for docking, and if you really did not want to be detected, you would live off the ships. The British were in the area. For the McGinnis was in the British military. Yep, yeah, we know. Yep, he sure was. Yeah. Oh, John says he actually owns 2 signal cannons, and they're not that large at all. Neat. You should take a picture of one or both of them and put them on the group page, John. That would be neat to see that. I'm really interested in them now because of the fact that they found this, and so we would. The Jan said that was South Carolina. That was Pat. That's right, South Carolina. Yep, Savannah. But anyway, that was really neat to see that picture of that cannon that was put on there. Since it was the highest point on the island, the mound could have been the site for the watchtower or a small fort or something.
Yes.
Okay. John said he'll put those up there. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Anyway, so that's why I wanted to show that too, just simply because, as soon as they said that, I thought, well, I got to go Google this and see what I can find online that talks about this and see if they can come up with something. I just passed up a bunch of stuff here. Let's see. Let's see. The Jersey lady put up something here, and I don't see what the link was. It says, this is what I found about signal cannons. They were used to make salutes, warn of danger, and attract. Yeah, in case of an emergency. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you guys for that. I appreciate that. I just love all the information that comes out here. Let's see. Marilyn said, could the British have found ancient treasure and they were signaling others to stay away? It could be.
It could be.
Yep. Yeah, Judy Rudabush might have been the one that posted this out of the cannon. I know, and I'm sorry, Judy, if that was you and I've forgotten. Yep. The mound was high ground strategically. Yep. So I have a signal cannon makes sense. Yep. Yeah, it would. It would make total sense to have it right there, like Jack said, on the highest point of the island. That's where you would want to put it, right? The colonies, Tom says, the colonies were under British control, so they were, so they enlisted people like Ball and McGinnis and troops brought up from the eastern seaboard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were the British military. Ball and McGinnis both were. We know that. So, all right, so that's what I had on the cannons. And then they got into the war room, and they talked a little bit in the war room with. They had Craig Tester on the monitor. I didn't, grab it. Well, I had those 2 pictures of the 2. There was 2 pictures or 2 pieces of the stake, the wooden stakes that they found in the swamp that they had gotten tested, C14 testing, and they came up and said that those were. Let's see. Did you get the date?
1719 to 1826 on the first one.
Yeah, 1719 to 1826 on one of them.
And the other one was 1635 to 1684.
Yeah, 1635 to 1684. And then I heard Rick was asking Aaron, he says, weren't these pretty close together? Why such a wide range in the dates on this? And that's true. They did have quite a wide range on the dates. And one of the things that they mentioned, because Aaron said they found these like 10 feet apart. So why would there be such a wide range in the dates? And that's at the point where it's starting to go up into the uplands, okay, over by Nolan's property. And so they were like, well, why would this be? Now, one of the, yeah, very big difference in age, Pam. And that's what kind of threw me too. I thought, wow, that just doesn't make sense. Either their C14 testing is not that good, um, or that there's some sort of thing like they were saying that a very good possibility was that the lower part of the road that they've uncovered in the swamp proper, down in the muck, that particular part of the stones that they've uncovered there could have eventually been covered up by the swamp, right? And so when they came along, somebody else came along later, almost that would be 100 years later,
100 years later.
another 100 years later, pretty much, that they came along and they found part of the road that actually came up out of the swamp into the uplands. And so they said, hey, let's use this road for whatever. I don't know. And that's what they were kind of speculating on in the show. Does that mean that's what happened? We don't know that for sure, but it's likely that if it's 100 years in age difference, that maybe somebody else came along and started using the road for fixing it back up.
Which makes me to wonder, what two groups? Are they the same group, or are they two different groups?
French and the British?
French and British? I mean, he said two different areas, but I thought, are we talking, French and British?
Right.
Spanish? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. If it was the British and the French, it could be. If they were both messing around on the island at that time, or over those years, and they were, I guess we know that they were. We know that Nova Scotia went back and forth between British control and French control a few times, back and forth. Alessandra Nadavari pointed that out, and when she was talking on when she was on the show. So I don't know. Yeah, very interesting to speculate on that for sure. But yeah, that's a very good point. So, but we don't really know why would there be such a wide range in that? And I was very disappointed. I could see Rick's face. He was too. He was like, well, that doesn't make sense. What's that all? It definitely, the old one is nice, to going back to the 1600s, early 1600s. But, are we saying that the French and the British fought one another on the island, or is that I don't know. I don't know. That would have to be somebody from the area. Somebody that has more knowledge, a scholar or researcher that works on that, like Alessandra, or maybe even James McQuiston or somebody like that that's done a lot of research on that would be better to give than I certainly don't know enough about it to say. Tom said, I think the French actually settled in Nova Scotia before the British became dominant in the south, and the French in the north, Cape Breton.
Yes, Toronto, Montreal becoming French, and Toronto more of the English.
Yeah, the French were there for sure, John says too.
Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know, John. I don't know if they fought over the island. I don't know, but yeah, Linda, good point, Linda. Hardly enough musket balls or cannonballs for that kind of thing, if there were. They haven't found that many. So that's a good point too. Yeah.
But regardless, somebody had to know about the lower half to do the upper half.
Mm-hmm. Janet says Doug or Charles would probably know. You're right. They probably do know. Depositors were the early stakes in the British military later. Yeah. Anyway, interesting. So, yeah, we just don't have enough information. And of course that, here's that post. Yeah, that was Judy Rudebush put that post up for that cannon, just a little food for thought. But the crews were digging up the river instead of muck. They pulled out 3 cannons. 3 cannons. Isn't that something? Yeah, that's amazing. I just love that stuff. I really do. And finding cannons and things of that nature. I just love that. I would love to find a cannon. Even, if it was out in the water. Remember when they had the Beyond show and they were out there, and it was John Chatterton, wasn't it? I think was it John that was diving off the coast. They found that those cannons and stuff, and they weren't allowed to go touch it. They weren't allowed to go investigate it. It was just
look, but don't touch.
Oh yeah, it's just, man, it's so fascinating that they found those. Anyway, we're about an hour and 45 in, so let's we'll start wrapping it up here. But I wanted to a couple of things that I noticed that I wanted to point out here. That I grabbed this other picture. Now this is I was trying to zoom in on it, and I apologize, folks, that this is really blurry. And I'll try to explain this as best I can. But let me bring this picture up. This is again of the swamp, and what they were doing, and when the camera was continuing to roll, you could see that right down here in the bottom, right in the middle and the bottom down here on the road that that they've constructed across the bottom of the swamp. They had this guy was down here working with an excavator down here. He's on the road. Now this may mean nothing, but I was wondering what he was doing down here. Now take a look at the trees. The trees are all this is peak
Late fall.
This is peak color season right here. So and I know in the UP peak color season is mid-September. Mid to end of September, I think is, if I remember correctly, is peak color season. This is peak color season. Look at the colors up here. So we know that's got to be mid to late September probably. And there's an excavator down here and he's working. And they've stopped. It looks like they've stopped pumping the water out. It's starting to fill back in the swamp, right? And this guy's down here. I just wonder what he was doing. Yeah, it looks like, so Bart said, and somebody that lives up there like Tom and them would know better, what time of year this would be, but that's what I was thinking anyway. But I was wondering what he was doing. This is piles of dirt now, and again, you can't see it that well on this picture because it's just too blurry. But I was just wondering what he was doing down here. Now the road the road that I was talking about earlier is right here, the stone road, and I'm hoping that it extends out here into the ocean, that they can determine that or not. But I was just wondering what he was doing. If he was building this up, trying to make it, so that maybe the sea, make a higher seawall there, so that it doesn't get so much water in the swamp or damage. I don't know, but I just thought that was
It's like they're trying to prevent water from going into swamp this winter.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know, but I just thought it was curious. This guy was up here working. I tried to do everybody's jumping in. Barb and Don said, mid-October, more likely. I thought they were going to excavate closer to the Stone Road extension. Yeah, that's what I kind of thought he was doing down here. I got that. I saw him, and you could see this thing moving down here. And there's actually people walking right here down the road, and you can see the movement on there when the drone footage was going by. But I just wondered what he was doing. I thought, man, he's digging out there looking for something. Or maybe he's just building it up, but he obviously can't. I zoomed in on it a little bit, tried to get a closer shot. But this is a pile of dirt right here. This was a huge pile of dirt. And he was scraping over here. So I don't know. I was just curious what he was doing. I'm one of those. I just wanted to find out what's going on that. And then lastly, maybe repair work after all the trucks and equipment used for the swamp messed up the road a bit. Yeah, that could be. You might be right. You might be just repairing things, but it looked like a big mound of dirt that he was dealing with right here. So I really don't know what the heck, and what he was doing. But anyway, I thought that was kind of neat. I'm always watching, and I don't know if the rest of you guys do this, but during the show, especially the second time or third time that I watch it, I'm always looking for that little other oddity that, that they didn't talk about, that glossed over. Like when, was it, Charles, or, who's the one that had they were over at Carmen's, blacksmith shop, and they were showing him that one ring bolt. Okay. Right. And they had it in the Ziploc bag, but then he had something else wrapped up in bubble wrap. And I saw that. I'm always looking for that kind of stuff because I want to know, hey, what was that? What was that thing?
Hey, take that out. I didn't see that.
So I'm always looking for that kind of thing during the show. What they don't show us half the time is more of the story than what they do show us. The bubble wrap incident. Yeah, that's it for sure. Tom, you could have called. I didn't put the number up. No, I can still do it. Let me put the number up in case anybody wanted to call in. We still got time if you guys want to call in. I'm good with that. But anyway, you guys during this Wednesday night show, you guys can call in anytime if anybody has written down at home. You can call in anytime, and I apologize for not putting that up earlier. I just forgot about it. But lastly, and this was something that I wanted to grab here just because it's one of those other little things that I love his hat. You know me, and I got my Michigan hats. I got the one back there. It's got the UP on it, 906, and I got one over here too. That's the same thing, UP 906. Michigan's better half. I love it. I want one of these hats. Rick Lagina, I want to get one of these hats. Okay. I love this. And you see, here's the UP. Look how big it is. And there's the lower peninsula right there. Little tiny little thing. Yeah. I just love that hat. There was another hat my sister had pointed out that he was wearing that she said something, and I've been looking for it. I can't find it now, but my sister pointed out another Michigan hat that Rick is the man of many hats. He's always got a different hat on every time you see him. And so, but I'm going to have one of these now. I got a Uper hat. Exactly. Thank you. A Uper hat. So a Uper hat. Yes, I'm a Uper, and I like that hat quite a bit. I know that my friends and family that I still have living up in the UP would love that too. They probably just think I got a book downstairs. I should show this on the next show. It's a book downstairs on my nightstand. Actually, my mom had it, and it shows it's a little book of Michigan. It says, "You wouldn't like it here." It says right on the cover of the book. It talks about Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Believe me, you wouldn't like it here. So it's telling people to stay away. My dad used to have a doormat at his house up there in the UP, right? You walk up and you always have the welcome mat, right? Laying there by the door so you could wipe your feet on it. And you walk up and what did my dad say? Go away. Go away. Oh, and I wanted to say, we were talking about the rose and the crown that are on the supposed lipstick case, right? We found the rose and the crown. It's a bar in Britain or in the UK. I don't know exactly where it's at. That's the Rose and Crown bar. We found it. I don't know what they use for a logo, but I thought that was kind of funny because it's the Rose and Crown. So the Rose and Crown has been going on for a long time. That that might be a lipstick case, but it also dates back to the UK. It's got bigger meaning in the UK, the Rose and the Crown. And here we have a tavern that's called the Rose and the Crown. Cool, huh? Anyway, I thought that was kind of neat. That was shared by I think that was shared by Carl Cookson. And by the way, speaking of Carl Cookson and Hamilton White, if you guys haven't seen the last Saturday we had the guys from we had Carl Cookson and Hamilton White on from the Discovery Channel TV show Lost Relics of the Knights Templar. Those guys were so good. I mean, every guest we've had on this show has been just wonderful, and those guys were great. They, if you haven't seen that show yet, you got to go check it out. It's on YouTube. You can check it out there. It's also on our group page. You can see it there as well. It's actually on Twitch as well. You can see it any of those three places. But that was really a cool show. Just listening to what Carl and Hamilton had to share with us, I was really that was great. That was great. And they have talked about coming back again because they are just finishing up their filming of the second season of, and I don't know how many episodes they did. They did quite a bit of footage. They have quite a bit of camera footage that they've done. But they're going to reveal more of their artifacts. They have they talked about the Horde, the Templar horde of artifacts that they have that they believe is Templar stuff.
Over 100 or so.
Yes, exactly. Over 100 pieces. And we got to see on the show the 5 episodes. They did one piece per episode, basically, and there was 5 episodes. They had 5 different pieces that they talked about. But my goodness, if they've got that many, and they're covering more of those in season 2. So I'm really looking forward Yeah, not a whole lot more. I don't think it shows. And yeah, Carl was talking about that. I don't know if they did 5 or 6 or whatever. And again, COVID having so much to do with things too as well. But they were going to be covering a lot more of the artifacts that they found. Oh, and I wanted to show Deidre's map too. And I just saw Deidre pop up, and that reminded me. I wanted to bring that map back up and show that one more time. I'm going to take it down, this down for just a second. There we go. And get another look at that. Her map that she did so much work on. This thing is cool. It's just so small that I really couldn't get a good shot of it. Where are we at here? There it is, right there. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up, and again, it's just really small. But look at wait till you see that. Look at the detail on this thing that she has done. So here you got your numbers across the top, and your letters down the side here, and of course the letters being west, and numbers on the top being north. And here are those, and if you can see these across the top right here, this is your C3, C4.5, C5, C6.
Dark area right there.
Yeah, so this is where they've been doing all their work over there. And so, but I wanted to show that. It's a great map, and I can't imagine the hours that she has been putting into this to make this happen. Oh, okay. There's another. All right, I'll have to show that one here in a second too. The Rose and Crown. But anyway, look at the detail on this, and she's got every. I think Deidre, is this every single borehole that they've done? Because they're not that; those aren't on my map. I don't think anyway that I've got, but I think this is current, or pretty well current, with every borehole that they've done. And that's all these little purple dots you see everywhere. And of course, she had to use purple because she loves her lavender. Sorry. But all these boreholes, I mean, you got these over here, 8, 8, N8, and MN3, all these down here. And
what did they say they had, like 300 or 400?
I don't know. There's a bunch, but they're everywhere. I mean,
they're everywhere.
And she's really been working on this. So what a thing. So it's really small. Unfortunately, it's a work in progress. She says, yeah, very nice detail.
Nicely done.
Fantastic. So if we can get somehow, and maybe I can, well, she'll share it with us. This is Deidre's map, and she's just done a fantastic job. What was the green, Deidre? Is that the solution channel? The green on here? What was that? Is that, oh, it's pink. It's not lavender, it's pink. No, these are purple. These little dots are purple. I swear, I know you can't see them very big there, but I'm pretty sure they're purple. And I'm gonna switch this over because that. But anyway, look at the detail that she's done on this, and you guys will get to see more of this, I'm sure, coming up here as she shares with us on that. I'm going to switch here for a second. I'm going to show this other. This was another little picture. I know we've reached 2 hours and everybody's filtering out now, but I wanted to share this picture real quick. Here's another picture of another. This is another rose and crown. You see how important the rose and crown becomes up there? This is another picture. I'd love to go to Carl. I'd love to go. I got a feeling that if I ever did go to the UK and I was ever able to meet up with Carl and Hamilton,
I would remember half of it probably.
I don't think you're, if they go a pub crawl or something like that, go to the different pubs. I'll make it to the first one, and that's probably about it for me. I'll be like, you guys just come and get me on your way by. I'll be right here. I'm gonna be sitting in the corner over here.
I wouldn't remember.
Green shape is the solution channel. Thank you, Deidre. That's what I thought. Maybe it was. She had the green image there in the middle, and that was the solution. Mary said, Guppy said once they had done over 400 boreholes since he started. Yeah, that's right. He did say that. You're right. I have no idea about the green line. It is off of my screenshots that I'm working on. So figuring out where it ties in. Oh yeah. I'm going to go back to that real quick. Let me share that one back up. Let's see here. Stop and share again. Yeah, let's go back to that one real quick, and I'll bring hers back up. Yeah, I think she's talking about this green line right here. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the heck that's all about. And then purple line over here. But you got the head and shaft right here going in. And OC1 was the big caisson dropped right there. And, of course, 8A, and then RF1, and then, of course, what was that? E 3.2, what?
Your eyes are better than mine, Jeff.
Yeah, well, it's actually bigger for me because I got this huge monitor right here that I'm watching it on. But yeah, and GG1 and
GG1 was Vanessa's, if I remember correctly.
Yep. And that green, of course, being the solution channel that's running through there. So anyway, but great work on that, Dieter. That's awesome. So yeah, I can't wait to see this. Yes, I'm gonna work on that, and Linda's gonna remind me to get a bigger and colored mouse pointer. So I'm gonna look for that this week and see if I can download that so I can use that for this kind of pointing things out on the maps over here for next time. So anyway, all right, man. I really this is again one of those nights where I thought, man, there was a lot of stuff on the show, but man, 2 hours, and here we just blew right through 2 hours.
We blew through 2 hours.
I know everybody's butt's getting sore, sitting around for 2 hours watching. But I really appreciate you guys coming here tonight with us and sharing this in the discussion that we always get into on these things. I just love it. I absolutely love it. I've just another picture in a Rosencrowns Knutsford, Rosencrown symbol. Okay, I'm getting more Rosencrown pubs. All right. But really, I wanted to thank you guys for being here. It's a pleasure to come out here and share my Wednesday evening with you all, and Jack and
I enjoy
Jan doing the synopsis. And
Jan, thank you so
everybody
much.
that it comes out and shares the evening with us. We appreciate you all so very much.
And our gal Friday, Linda, we cannot forget her.
No, Linda, absolutely. I mean, she's honestly, she's the boss. And yes, I do listen. I may not always do. I'm always listening. I just may not always do what I'm told or whatever. But I tell you, without her, we would not have a group. I can tell you that right now. This group would not exist if it were not for Linda Simpson. She makes everything happen and keeps us going and researches and does so much work. It's just fantastic, and we would not have this group without her. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you, Jack. I appreciate you, Linda and Jan and Brenda doing the maps and all that kind of stuff. And yes, we have James McQuiston will be here Sunday. And again, I'm sorry I had something happen in our family, and I have to be there for this on Saturday. So I'll be gone all day on Saturday. So we unfortunately we had to shift Mr. McQuiston over to Sunday. So Sunday at 4:00 on Sunday will be James McQuiston, and he's an author. He's written like 6 books about Oak Island, and just some great. He's just going to be sharing with us some great information. So be sure if you can be here with us Sunday at 4:00. At 4:00 Eastern. For James McQuiston. And then after that, we have our next guest that comes up. Then I'll be gone the 27th. We got hopefully something special planned for that day. But I'll be gone that day. And then we have Maddie Blake coming up after that. On the 3rd of April is Maddie Blake, and that's going to be a great one. Maddie he's one of those people where I can just ask one question to get him started.
We'll let him go.
And then just sit back and enjoy the show. And then Alessandra Nadavari will be coming back for part 2 on the 10th. And then we will talk about what we got coming up after that. We've got some returning guests coming up with us. I'll wait for Linda to get out the schedule on that. But we got some returning guests coming back on the show so we're booked through April. And we're working on May now. So we already have a couple lined up for May. So it's going to be, and then during the summer, I'm outside a lot in the summertime. So we'll see how we're going to do in May. In summer, we're going to try to do as many shows, but we're hoping to line up, do some more work with Beyond Oak Island show and some of the people that were on those episodes. So we're working on that as well to get us through the summer months. And hopefully we're going to get some tidbits from the folks on the island as to what's happening during the summer while they're out digging and doing all that kind of stuff on the island. So hopefully they'll feed us a little bit of information that will keep us going. So anyway, with that said, thank you guys so much for being here tonight again. And if you are out on the YouTube side, please give us a subscribe if you would, and a thumbs up if you don't mind, just to let us know how we're doing, or a thumbs down. Just either way, if you didn't like it, we understand. But I appreciate you all so very much. Again, have a good night and the rest of your week, and hopefully we will see you here on Sunday at 4 o'clock. All right. Good night, everybody.